Hi guys, it is Charlotte from The Writable back with another question. And this one is actually a romance-based question, but it's really about point of view. So the question is, I'm writing a scene about two lovers fighting, but I can't decide which point of view character I want to tell it from. How do I decide? And, or should I just tell it from both sides? And so, what a great question. And I guess I made the assumption that it was romance. It could be any type of genre. Um, and whether it's a scene with with two lovers fighting or just multiple characters that will have their point of views told in the story, um, and they're all in the scene together, we always do need to make a decision about which point of view character we're going to tell this scene um, in real time, because there's a couple of options about how to get everyone's impression, everyone's reaction to it, absolutely. But the actual in the moment scene, the person that is going to be experiencing it with the reader or telling it for the reader, we do need to really have some serious consideration sometimes about which character that should be. And the very simple answer is you choose the character for whom it's going to have the most impact. And impact means emotional impact, changing their perspective impact, forcing them to make a new decision, forcing them to face some sort of change, some sort of problem where they have to come at it and make a new decision, whether that's a new decision in perspective or a new decision in action. And when you've got maybe two characters that have equal stakes, that can be a little bit sometimes that can be even more challenging. So then I start going to what is the core story that I'm telling. And what I mean by that is, what is this story about? Like, what is the main mission of the story? What's the main goal? Um, and so then we look at the scene and we say, how does this impact the main thread of the story, and for which character is it going to have the most, like, depending on which character we tell it from, who is going to give the most impact for the main story. As well as I'm looking at themes. So not just what is the physical story, but what is the internal story? What is the belief shift that's happening or that's coming about? And the belief shift, or the theme, you can think of it maybe as like the moral or the lesson, the message that you as the writer are wanting to share with the reader. And some writers think about that like really outright, and some writers maybe haven't considered it at all, but it's something to think about because every story says something. But what is it that your story says? And then you choose the character that is going to embody that the most, or help share that theme shift the most. And when I say theme shift, I don't necessarily mean what character is going to you know act from already knowing the theme or already knowing that message, that moral that you're trying to share, but what is the character for whom it's going to bring up the most questions and encourage the most shift. So it really is, when we're looking at deciding a point of view character, it really is about who is going to have the most shift, and that might be physically or that might be internally, mentally. In the same breath, if you have a scene where there is no shift, where there is no change, it's probably not a great scene. So that's just the other flip side of that coin, is we're always looking for the most impact, we're looking for the most shift, we're looking for the most change. And then the second part of the question here is, should I tell it from both perspectives? And yeah, so if you've got characters for whom this scene is pivotal to both of their storylines, because of course each main character that has a point of view is going to have their own full story going on. So if this scene impacts both of them, but of course you can only tell it in real time from one character, you've got options. And one option is to split the scene in half so that you tell the first half of what's happening from one perspective and you tell the second half from the other perspective. And again, you try to match up so that you have, you know, the first character has their shift in their scene and the second character has their shift in their scene, or their half of the scene, I guess. So that's one tactic, is to tell it in real time, but have, you know, the first half with one character and the second half with the other character. The other option, and the one that that I tend to go for myself, is I tell the scene from, you know, one point of view character. So again, whoever has the most, you know, the most to shift or the most impact, and then as I switch into the next character's narrative, I will start with just a couple lines of their response of, you know, when she said blah blah blah, it made me think this. And essentially you are using a couple of lines to tell the reader something that occurred to the other main character. And this is, you know, this goes against that show don't tell sort of rule, which is a-okay. Rules are meant to be bent and broken, and this is one of those situations where we've already seen the scene, we already know how it plays out. Now what we're doing now is we're just telling the reader the extra pieces that they wouldn't have gotten from that scene. We're telling them what it is that the other main character was thinking, what it is that shifted. Typically I'm thinking what it is that shifted internally for them. You're going to show their external responses in the scene even as it's being told by someone else, but the way that they're thinking, you can't telegraph that. So or not fully. So there's probably going to be some things that you want to pull out. Again, just like 2-3 sentences at the start of the next chapter, recapping what happened and just adding in the little details that were missed. Side note here, as a great idea, you can always use the scene from the other person's point of view. You can always write both of them and have the second person's scene be like a reader magnet, be some like newsletter. You know, people have to sign up for your newsletter to get this scene, and you say like, hey, you want to see the scene from so-and-so's perspective? So you can actually give readers that. You can still give them that experience. You just don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it right in the narrative. Like you don't want to be going forward and then cycling back in time a little bit. With exceptions there, there's always ways to bend rules, but that is the relatively quick and simple answer about deciding point of view and how to share maybe multiple points of view that are involved in the same scene and are both having significant shifts from it, where the scene is significant to both of them. All right, so again, I am Charlotte from The Writable. Thanks so much for joining me for this question. If you have a question of your own about writing or about maybe one of your works in progress, feel free to send me a direct message, and I am more than happy to make a response video just like this one to help you out and help you tell a better story. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next video.